My name is Lori Gurnett. We're going to discuss overcoming fear in your life. So many of us live in fear, and it's something, there's many different aspects of fear. There's the fear of the unknown, there's fear of failure, there's fear of success, there's fear of losing those you love the most, fear of getting hurt or hurting those you love as well. So many times in our life we find ourselves trapped in fear, and we invite it. We find that we lie to ourselves that it's safe here. Yeah, it may be safe, but it's also debilitating, confining, and eventually you find yourself all alone. Then you're struggling with the fear of being alone. So it's a vicious cycle that we all seem to spin ourselves around in and feel lost in. I would like to take you on a journey with me, what God has been teaching me in overcoming my own fears. I hope that what God has taught me can speak to your hearts as well. So thank you for joining me. First of all, we're going to talk about what defines fear. Fear itself is the impending feeling of evil, danger that surrounds us each and every day. Whether it's impending danger or imaginary, it's very real in our minds. And we struggle with how to deal with that fear. Do we embrace it, or do we just allow ourselves to be embraced by it? Do you want control of your fear, or do you want fear to control you? In the Kid Health website, it tells us that fear is ingrained in us from childhood. From birth, we have this fear. It's to protect us. It is healthy. Just all depends on how you choose to deal with your fear. It's natural, and everybody deals with it in their own way. But is it a healthy way, or is it a way to just hide from the world? And yeah, the world will continue moving without you, but do you really want it to? Wikipedia tells us about the unjust judge in Luke 18 verses 1 to 8. In those verses it talks about the unjust judge, how he neither feared God or cared for man. Some of the translations, like the NIV version, replaces the word fear for reverence. Now this kind of fear is a holy fear. It's not fearing that if you make a mistake, God's going to strike you down dead with lightning bolts. It's more of a fear that, yeah, there is a loving God out there that is all-powerful. And yeah, He can control the weather. He can control anything and everything. And He knows all things. He's in all things, and He is the ultimate creator. So when we have fear for God, we acknowledge His holiness and how He can't be around sin. A holy God cannot be around sin, because sin is dirty, it's messy, and ultimately it destroys us. So having reverence for God or fear for God is a way of honoring God in knowing and thanking Him for what He's done for you, because He loves you very, very much. You are important. I want to reiterate that very importantly. All of God's creations, He has made you important. Don't let anybody ever tell you otherwise. So the fear of God can be also in reference to things that you have seen or things that you haven't seen. Sometimes the fear of God is just acknowledging Him. So like if you look at the Exodus in Exodus 14:31, the fear of God for them was the all power that he showed in bringing them out of Egypt, bringing Israel out of Egypt. But there's also the fear that Zechariah showed, the father of John the Baptist, when he saw the angel of the Lord appear to him. He feared that because he saw that holiness and he wasn't quite sure how to deal with that. The reactions of fear from God's people, and that fear is the contemplation of who God really is and what he has done for you. And lastly, there's fight or flight. Now, I'm sure many of you have heard this expression, but do you really know what it means? If you fall into fight or flight, it's when you feel that you have no way out, that you're stuck between a rock and a hard place. You take your stance and you look around for a way out. And when you find it, you run as fast as you can. But really running away to live another day, is that healthy? Or is that just running from that fear just so that it can come back to you again? Fear itself is not weakness. And anyone who has ever told you that has obviously not faced fear and overcome it. Take my husband, for instance. He battles with panic attacks, 20 or more a day. And you know what? He's the strongest person I know. Even though he's fighting these panic attacks, he carries a calm demeanor. He is always there for anyone who needs help. He's there as a shoulder to cry on. He is there to listen, and he's a support. And anyone who knows him knows that if they're in trouble, they can call on him and he will be there in an instant. So if you think that's weakness, then you don't know what strength is. So when I talk about embracing your fears, I'm not talking about chasing adrenaline or seeking death-defying feats. No, I'm talking about the fear that we all face each and every day. If you want to take this journey with me, for the next 4 days, we are going to go through the fear of acceptance or rejection, the fear of failures or success, the fear of standing up for what you believe in, or not standing up and becoming invisible. And finally, the fear of following God's leading in your life or not following. Which is most important to you? Embracing your fear and becoming your storm, learning from your mistakes and growing to make yourself stronger, or allowing your fear to embrace you. And when you allow that fear to embrace you and not embrace your fear, then you will constantly be running away. And that fear will grow in strength. And that's when you'll find your weakness. I'd like to leave you with this Bible verse. It says, "For this reason I remind you to fan into flames the gift of God, which in you through the laying on of hands, for God gave you a spirit not of fear, but of power and love and self-control." 2 Timothy 15, chapter 1, verses 6 to 7. Thank you, and I hope to see you tomorrow. God bless.